and welcome to the Millennial Starseed. I'm your host, Adriana, and today I'm very honored and happy because we have our first video podcast and also our first guest on the show. Her name is Traci Lynn. Many of you know her as Pink Bella. She is the creator of Team Light Canada, and she's a very gifted starseed. She's a multidimensional healer, and I can't wait for you guys to learn more about her and her journey, her gifts, and how it all started for her. So let's welcome her, everybody. Traci, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here with us today.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you, Adriana. I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm just thankful to be part of Team Light Canada and Team Light USA with Rion and you in Cyprus. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I've been following you for a while now, ever since Rion mentioned your name on one of his shows. And I love your content, and you give so much detail into things, and you put many pieces together and you create like a structure. And I love structure.
Thank you so much. Sometimes I have amazing downloads for all of us. It's really crystal clear. And then other times I don't know what I'm going to bring in, but I'm just guided to create content. And that's why I still use cards. I still like to give card readings because I know that's what has been my role my whole life has been to help others. Like I used to be for years, I was a customer service and support. So I've always been, that's been my role on the planet, has been to help and bring in joy.
With me also, like I use the cards and then it just comes through and I see more things in the cards and it starts when I watch it back, I'm like, wow, it's actually my download.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? It's amazing. I don't know about you, but when I started with cards, it was way back when Doreen Virtue was creating all her card decks. I did a lot of training with her online and in person. And it was obviously it was a past life thing because I was actually excited to learn about the cards, but I was also scared as well. There was fear there as well. So I think too, even you and I sharing like the tarot is important because I think it's like clearing lifetimes of fear around the divination
Yes.
tools. Yeah, yeah.
Many people
So,
think it's something with dark magic or things like that because of the
okay, well, I'm going to
propaganda
share
and
a
all the
little
things.
secret with all of you. So, when I did a live class with her in person, she came here in Vancouver. One of the first things she did was she called in Archangel Michael and she cleared lifetimes of fear around using our gifts. And that was my first inkling into the Akashic work that I do, because right away I was like, of course, we've had lifetimes where our gifts were not accepted. Yeah, I'm so happy that you use the cards as well, because it helps you and I, it helps you, it helps me bring in more information, and then it also it's clearing for a lot of people as well. It takes the fear out of some of the images.
I'm really curious to learn more about your journey and your
Yeah,
gifts. How did it all start for you?
there's a whole bunch of pieces to it, but how the name Pink Bella came. So on my journey, as I was trying to find my way, I ended up with this gift of moving out of my apartment and I couldn't find another apartment. And I had a friend say, come to Maui. So I actually had an activation while I was there, and I was walking on the beach one day, and I just said, "What am I doing? What's my next steps?" And I just heard you're going to create a page like Pink Bella Aloha Therapy, connected to for your love of Hawaii and Lemuria, and your name will be Pink Bella. And I was like, cool. Like, I feel like we all sort of come in with an idea about what we're going to do and how things are going to progress. And that was way back in 2013. So my gifts were just starting. I just had completed Reiki, becoming a Reiki master, and I was studying to remember how to do card readings and all of that. Yeah. Yeah. So that was part of it. Yeah.
So you don't have any memories from when you were a child and
I
having this.
do. Do
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yeah, I do now. I have a really vivid memory of when I was 5. I was really upset with my mom. My mom told me she always invited me everywhere, but she's like, "No, you can't come now. I'm going out without you." And then I just cried and cried and cried. And then I remembered suddenly that I was a starseed in a child's body. And I thought, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through another reincarnation. I remember looking up at the ceiling going, no, abort mission. I don't want to do this. But that memory didn't come back to me until like the
You
last
didn't
five
want to
years.
stay in the physical, in that,
I
the
didn't want to
body.
be a child, no, because I knew I was a child. I knew I was going to have to go through the whole process of a
Oh,
teenage or adult. Like I just wanted to fast track it, right? So, but I didn't remember that until I really started doing a lot of deep work the last 5 or so years. So we go in and out, we go in and out. We remember, like, we probably remember things maybe more clearly now about childhood than when we were actually a child.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I could see the future timeline, and now that things changed, I'm like, I remember that. I remember that were going to go through this. Um,
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. But they wanted us to experience being a child as well. So that's the whole process of being put back to sleep.
Yes,
Which I've
forgetting
been,
everything.
yeah, it's like we go through a wipe.
Yeah.
We really do go through a wipe every night as well. We go through a wipe of like a lot of experiences that we've been involved with in our dream state, so we can function here on the earth,
Yes.
right? Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, that's what I remember. My next big thing was like I remember I would see ships. I had to go back to figure out what age I was. I was probably about 18. And they would just come out of nowhere. I would be like maybe driving home late from being out with friends, and then a ship would just appear in the sky. So I knew I didn't feel alone. But then I would forget about that as well. I would forget that too.
I remember you told me that your first activation happened back in the 90s.
Yes.
Wow, like I'm sure nobody was awake back then. How was it for you? It was before the internet and everything, right?
Yeah, it was just before the internet was just starting. So I had this real call to go back and live in Australia, and the idea started to come in to travel before I went to Australia. Like, why not go to Europe? Why not fly into Europe? Why not go to Greece? Why not? That's when I was actually in Cyprus. I was in Cyprus on that trip. And then why not go to Egypt and see the pyramids, and let's do an African safari? Like it just turned into this big thing before I moved to Australia. And I didn't know that I was going to have an activation at the pyramids. Like that was huge. But I got a healer while I was there, found me. We found each other. So this is the universe showing us synchronicity, how we meet
Yes.
people and things are brought to us without having to be online. But of course, the tools now make it easier. Right. So I actually got to have a meditation at the Sphinx. I ended up going on my own, and then I just had this massive, it was like a solar flash. I had this massive amount of light when I closed my eyes, like a big poof. And everything changed after that, but I didn't know for a couple of years like
Wow.
what had happened, except I suddenly felt very more alien being on the planet than I had been before. And when I got to Australia, I suddenly wanted to be vegan. I suddenly needed to know about crystals. I wanted to meditate. I got to study essential oils. Like all of these things happened to me that wouldn't have happened, I believe, if I hadn't had that. It was like everything got rewritten, everything got recoded.
Wow. My first
Yeah.
activation happened in December 2012, 21st of December.
Oh,
And after
2012 was
that,
that was so powerful. That's such a powerful
yeah,
year.
it started a little bit before that, around 2011, but yeah, the main one happened 2012. And then after that, I also wanted to stop eating meat and I went vegetarian for a while. And then I found out that veganism and vegetarianism is different. So I also started, with
Yeah.
diet, nutrition, cleaning up
Yeah,
the
well, it's
organ.
because like we suddenly start really noticing everything's vibration and our body wants certain things. Yeah, I know. So that's amazing. So, yeah, that would have been a very powerful month for you to have an activation because that really was 2012 initially was the year that we were supposed to be on this higher timeline. So a lot of star seeds woke up in 2011 and 12.
Yeah, it was huge. And especially after the activation, the Dark Night of the Soul, like
Oh
for
yeah.
a lot of years after that.
Yes, yeah, I hear you on that for sure. But I will have to tell you, so because it was pre-internet and I didn't know what had happened, I really didn't find out about being a starseed till a couple of years later. I just knew everything was different and everything seemed so surreal. Like it didn't make sense, you know what I mean? Like I really felt like more of a fish out of water. When I came back to Canada, that's sort of when things started to open up a little bit more for me. And I started to like look into card readings, and I actually went to someone like you and me to have a reading, and that's when I found out I was a starseed. And I thought that's so interesting because I've actually had that experience with clients where I've had to say, oh, by the way, you're a starseed, because some people, you know, initially would come to me and they had no idea either. So that was mind-blowing. That was mind-blowing. But back in the day when there was no internet, we would, those of us that were drawn to finding out information would go to bookshops that would carry important texts, or and there was also people would have workshops and seminars, and I would somehow find my way to the group, you know, and get information that way. So that's how I learned about the
Wow.
violet flame. I learned about the violet flame, like I think I was at a workshop and people started talking about it, and I was like, what's that? You know, so, but I will tell you, they put me back to sleep. Like I was put back to sleep a few times so I could go back and work in the corporate world.
Until everybody was ready.
Yeah, because otherwise it wouldn't have made any sense. You know, I would have just been sitting there waiting. So,
Yeah. What is one of the most important lessons that you've learned as a healer and as a starseed yourself throughout your
oh
journey so
wow,
far?
there's so many. I didn't know that I was going to be offering healings to others. Like that took quite a process. And I think it is that saying, healer, heal thyself, because really I had to learn through food allergies. I had to learn through it when I worked, you know, I studied computer programming. So I was working on devices very early on, and my body was having a reaction to that. So that actually drew me to energy healers, because the regular system couldn't help me with whatever I was
Mm.
experiencing. So I really went to a lot of people who did energy work, and I was open to it, because I think when our body's suffering, we will expand our consciousness and be open to new paths, right? So that what I learned along the way was to empower myself, and then that's what I try to extend to others. I help others find their way, but also to empower everyone. You know, like, yeah, we do have to make changes in our diet, we do have to make some changes in our life, but it's important, otherwise we don't receive the guidance. So we really, our intuition grows gradually most often, but it really grows by us trusting our instincts to follow a path that's a higher frequency. So change, you know, eating better foods and taking care of ourselves, like it
Yes,
has
being
it, and
consistent.
if it's not a priority, our body will make it a priority. And it's you know, at the time, of course I was like the black sheep in the family. I was pretty well the only one that wasn't able to eat what everybody else was eating or drink what everyone else was drinking. I went through some tough times, definitely. But I tell you, when I went for that reading, the lady said, oh, you're not from here, you're a star seed. All the pieces clicked together. And I was like, oh, like it just all made so much sense. Then I started to get excited. Like even right now, it's a really exciting time, because so many people are wanting to know, like, there's something beyond our experience here on Earth. You know, and part of it is learning about who we are in other realities and dimensions, but then bringing that back and being
The
here,
physical.
being present. Yeah.
Uh, I'm really interested to know more about your journey with your close friends, your family members, when you started, working as a healer and doing all these things.
I don't even know if they know.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like it's not, it's like when it was gradual for me, and when it started, none of them were open to it. What I do with everybody is, if there's a vibrational match and someone's interested and they ask me questions, I will answer. But I learned a long time ago, like really my family didn't really ever see me. Like it's almost as if I would be invisible when I was in with family gatherings and that sort of thing. So I think they became more aware of my belief systems and the direction I was going in when my mom got sick. My mom got sick in 2007. So, and I was already going for acupuncture. And even so that's another thing when we work with everybody. is to find out where they're at on their journey. Like, are they open to energy healing? What about acupuncture? Like, just testing the waters. And even acupuncture ruffled feathers. So I remember intuitively knowing when they're ready, when it's a vibrational match, they'll just know, oh, it's like we need to go to her. We need to talk to her.
There's been so much
And as we're
propaganda
building,
for many years.
yeah, and as we're building our confidence, it's important for us to surround ourselves with our tribe and to offer our services or to help people that are open to it and ready. So I'm always like, I'm open to talking about things if I'm asked directly, but I don't at family dinners just like bring out my crystals and
Oh no,
say
of course
change
not.
the room. Yeah. So let's tell you, recently I just went to a reunion with a bunch of people that I went to school with. And I remember thinking, okay, if anyone asks me what I'm doing, I'll just tell them. And I'm just going to see what their reaction is. Everyone was really like, cool. Like, it was so good. So I thought that's really positive. That means a lot of people have grown, and they've grown into wanting to have different belief systems now, which is good. Yeah, yeah. So but I probably, maybe to them, maybe I always stood out to be different. And I think I probably did ask like lots of questions in school, and I think I drove my mom overboard sometimes because I was always questioning everything. And I would always say things like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't believe that. Right. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And I think, well, you and I both know now we're here for a purpose. We're here globally as starseeds to hold the frequency of the light, and to maintain that, to maintain our connection, to knowing that we're here to shift like thousands of years of belief systems. Yeah.
Yes. You provide a variety of sessions and services. Um, do you want to talk a little bit more and explain what do you do exactly and how it works? I know there is something called J seals removal and spiritual
Oh, yeah.
technology, I think.
Yeah, I'm so amazed when I get like a download to offer something, and then I announce it on my channel, and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and that just amazes me. So that means like there's a synchronicity, like a switch has been flipped where people are like, "Yeah," and then I didn't know that I was going to be offering that. I thought, of course, I was just learning that to help me. And then I set up sort of like a healing center at my home. But then in 2016, that's when I really started to get these downloads about, no, you need to go online. And what's interesting is what you and I are doing here today was what I used to do in corporate. I was always helping people on video calls around the world. 2016, 17, initially I started with just helping twin flames. Then I started to remember about the 12 chakra system, and that how complex it gets with twins. Like the energy fields activate the chakra system as well, and that causes very much the dark night of the soul. And then, yeah, and then I was guided to start helping starseeds in 2017. And actually, that's when Rion's videos came to me. Was just a little bit before that. So I was already feeling like, oh, good, there's people already out there talking about starseeds. That's good. And just more and more information would come in. So oftentimes I get to a plateau with my helping people, and I just ask what's next. So I offer readings. I offer Akashic readings and clearings for people, and the clearings entail a meditation to help clear timelines, to help clear patterns, to help clear ancestral energies. And then I also bring in, the violet flame and messages from guides, that sort of thing. The J seals, so interesting. When I found out about those, I think they consciously came to me in 2020. So there's this old grid system that was manipulated within and around the planet. What I call it, the dark forces, they set it up to prevent many of us from awakening and having our abilities brought fully online. And they're either called seals or implants. And some of it was passed down generationally. So when we incarnated into our bodies, we received the blueprint that we got which is ancestral. And a lot of that contained these seals to prevent us from ascending, to prevent us from our third eye opening, etc. It's just ancient seals that were placed on mankind to prevent remembering who we are and having our abilities. In comes the star seeds, and we're like, no, we don't accept this. So literally the seals can basically, I was given like earlier this year or in June that we're free and clear now to start releasing them. So a whole group of people have come to me since then. It's a distance healing session, and it's just about balancing the chakras and asking the healing team to come in and start like gently releasing the seals. I always do the sessions on myself first. And when I did it on myself, what I noticed was the complete release of fear. So our avatars come riddled with fear. Like fear just gets set off just like that. It's like somebody just pressing a button or flipping a switch. And especially most starseed light workers are empaths and incredibly sensitive and hear things and see things. So all we need is like a frequency to come in to sort of like shoot off our nervous system.
Yes.
So that's a big plus, is once the seals were completely dissolved for me, the fear out of my body left.
I know there is a lot of beginners spiritually who are probably watching this episode today. So I just wanted to uh, mention briefly what Akashic records are, how spirit guides
Yes.
work with us, and
Yes, definitely.
what are
Yeah.
some of our abilities. I know you are clairvoyant.
I am
You have,
clairvoyant, but my original one was clairaudience, hearing.
oh, wow.
That with lots of chatter and lots of things going on. So it took me a long time to realize, like, when the ideas pop in that get you to move forward, oh, that's intuition. That's our higher self. That's our guidance system, right? I, like everyone else, I had to learn about my guides. I didn't understand about it. I had to learn about my higher self. I was probably until 2016, I was in school, really remembering things. So even though I
When you
had it,
just started your hearing.
yeah, like I had activations and did healing for myself, but I really had to like start trusting my intuition and guidance as well. So yeah, to begin with, I learned about we talked about this a little bit earlier about cards, like doing oracle card readings. So I studied with Doreen Virtue, and I learned all about Archangel Michael through her. So that's how the archangels came to me, and then that just expanded. Like they just zoomed in and were around me. And there's been all sorts of stories about, we can talk about another day, but many of us are connected to the Blu-ray frequency, which is the Archangel Michael lineage, which it keeps us connected to source universal energy. So that's super exciting. That's why many of us can't have the wool pulled over our eyes. We're very persistent. We're very like, no, I'm gonna heal this. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm gonna
On
find out my
mission.
purpose.
Yeah.
We've got this like real get up and go drive. But then along the way, okay, so I moved into an apartment in the city, and I would go walk there's something called the seawall here in Vancouver, and I would go walk by the ocean every day just to get clarity. And one day Archangel Michael and Archangel Metatron came in and they said, oh, you're gonna start reading Akashic records for people. This is going to be the bulk of your work, and we're going to put you through this process for 12 days for each chakra. And I was all excited. Okay. Oh no, it was heavy duty testing to see if I was in my integrity. Plus I learned how to clear my own records. They put me through a process of like, something would come up to activate my ego or fear, and then they would say, go into your records and find where that is, and then we'll help you clear and heal it.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how that started. And then the thing is that I realized I did this work in other realities, in other lifetimes. So much of the drive or the gifts that we want to learn about is us remembering what we already can do. Everyone just was open to it, but I probably was like thinking, well, how is this going to go? I've only been helping twin flames, like what, right? But everyone just flew in the door. Like people just like knew, like, that's an activation. I need to know more about my Akasha records. So when people come for a reading or a session with me, I get a download just before the session. I don't tap into anything. I am in integrity, so I don't tap into anything until like a personal session, and then it's like big messages, and then I work with the client to find out what if that resonates with them, and then we clear those timelines together. I take everyone like on a little meditation to do healing and clearing and balancing.
I also remember we were talking about ley lines and Blu-rays
Mm.
and the missions.
So most service seeds are Blu-rays, but many resonate with that term more than others. So when I'm given a word and it activates me to such a way, then I'm guided to share that too, because that's how often people will find me. So it's something that we knew would be like a superpower to keep us awake. So you're right. There'll be people watching this Starseed Lightworkers that are very new to this, and they're going to be lit up by some of these words. But some of us like understand now. Oh, I knew that I came in with the Blu-ray frequency, so we came in with this special blue frequency to keep us aligned and to keep us moving forward. And it's our connection to source universal energy off planet. So, but it's within us. So it's in our heart, it's in our quantum field, it's in our energy field. And the term Blu-ray is just to remind us all that we're all connected to each other. So the 144,000 in Revelations, which everybody feels is the time that we're in now, talks about a lot about the 144,000 and the seven references to seven, which will be the seven chakras as well. So I always started to understand, and this is for me being like studying computer programming, which was, of course, that was part of the plan for me to understand coding. So to me, the 144,000 is a code within us that gets activated. And it's another term that when I share it, that gets activated in others and people start researching 144,000. So the original belief system in the group that I was in, the Twin Flame Collective, was that they were all twin flames. Yes or no? To me, it's just a code that's within all of us that's ready to activate to be part of the same team. And it's like a seeing 1111. Many people will start to see 144 everywhere as well. So it's another code that's kind of uniting us, to let us know that we're on mission and that we're here together. So we are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the ones that were prophesized in the Bible and probably other texts that were going to come in to help at this time. And then so I share about the 144,000 because I know that will help others remember.
Yeah, there is many misconceptions about twin flames and soulmates and divine unions. What is your take on this? What do you believe about these
Well,
types of relationships, and how
I
can we
probably
end those karmic cycles? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Sorry about that. I probably wouldn't have believed in the word twin flame or the connection unless I'd gone through the experience myself. I also was just reminded that when it's something that both souls set up as an agreement to meet at a certain time to accelerate their ascension and awakening path. Like usually both souls are not exactly where they're supposed to be at that point. And I feel, yeah, I'm getting my goosebumps about that. So I feel like it really started in 2010 and 11, where it was time for many of the unions to get to activate each other. And I want to just be clear too. I do believe twin flames are together. I do believe twins will be coming together, or divine unions, or soul flame soulmates. The process has been about many of us being awake and staying awake. And one thing that happens down here on Earth is we can often get into patterns in personal relationships that drag our frequency down and go back again into a loop, right? Go
Yes,
back
because
again
we
into
have
a loop.
expectations.
Yes, of course, because that's what we've been, I think many of us were like, okay, we're going to go to Earth, but I want to make sure I meet my twin flame or my partner, right? Like there's a whole bunch of things wrapped around it. These connections are multidimensional. So they're thousands of lifetimes and also off planet. So it's not just as if like, oh, this is just a regular person and to get over it. It's a difficult thing once you meet this
It's
person
a
to move
deep
away from
connection.
it. Deep connection, and also part of our mission. Like that's for me was the tough thing to move forward from, was I had been shown this whole mission. But some of it could have also been another lifetime as well. Like I was just starting to get a lot of visions as well. I would say that my abilities really ramped up after the connection. I really started to like be intuitive, understand messages from my higher self and all of that. I still believe that many unions will come together. So what my team just gave me a message. Originally there were a whole group of us that weren't on schedule. We weren't far enough along. We weren't, I wasn't a healer yet, that kind of thing. So I would say the gift that I got from the whole connection was remembering about the Palladians, remembering that I'm a healer, remembering about crystals. Like it all came swooping in. And when I had that connection with my higher self daily, one of the messages was if you want this connection, you need to get on your mission and not the union mission, your own mission. So that propelled me forward. And I wouldn't even be Pink Bella. Like none of what I offer would have even been experienced. So I feel like even for my connection at the time, we both massively got downloads about not only the union, but gifts that we like intuitive gifts that we needed to accelerate our awakening to be prepared for now. So there's still lots of different couples that are coming together even now to go through that process to help. But yeah, it can end up being in a loop of suffering. And
Yes.
some of the healings that I offer as well are to help one or both of the twins release some of the trauma. Because that's what the unions are all about. It's about two souls being conscious, being on their soul mission, and then working through things individually and together. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to be clear about that. That there's always an option to manifest a different type of union if the twin flame connection didn't work for whoever.
Yes, I remember with the timelines, there's a lot of timelines, and if one timeline doesn't work, then you shift to the next one where you can create something entirely different. Um, I wanted to mention my own experience with the twin
Yes,
flames
please
and
do.
the when I had my first activation back in 2012. After that, I met my first twin flame. And through that experience, it was very intense. I realized that this connection is just to make you more in tune with yourself, with your own guidance, and to balance your own polarities. Because through the extremes, you learn who you truly are. And when you are
I agree.
ready,
Yeah, yeah,
then
I
this
agree.
type of connection becomes entirely different when you feel more ready to be yourself. So another one comes up to test you and to see, are you really ready to level up, or are you going to repeat the same cycle? It's like one person holds the keys, and maybe if something goes wrong with that connection, another twin flame gets activated, replays the same program so that you can
Yeah,
get tested.
yeah. The Arcturians sort of showed me. So what happened for me was in 2018, I came back from a trip and I thought, I don't want to go through this anymore. Like this does not feel joyful to me at all anymore. And I want to be free. I think that's the bottom line with all star seeds. We have this ingrained code of freedom. And we see everything on the planet that is not free. And as soon as we feel like like we're being suffocated or we're in a box that's not allowing us to expand our consciousness, yeah. So that when I started to play around with, I can let myself out of this box, it was quite fascinating to me. And it wasn't easy. It took a couple of months for me to be comfortable with that. It's like trying on a new jacket or something. And then what the Arcturians showed me was they showed me like an organizational chart. They showed me something like I used to look at when I worked in corporate, and they showed all the different monads. And then they showed all the oversouls. And then they showed how twins were part of the same monad. And that consciousness could literally be dropped into another avatar when the time was right. So I just wanted to confirm that, like, when people say, oh, I had a twin flame, and then like it gets confusing for people. How could you have a second twin flame or a third twin flame? So I wanted to share it's a consciousness, it's a frequency, and that frequency can literally drop into another avatar when it's the right time.
In my case, I remember those connections that I would meet those people, but when I met them, I then realized, oh yeah, it's that person.
Yeah.
I had
It's
the
because
memory,
it's a soul, like and our hearts know, right? Our soul just knows the energy. It's completely different.
But
Yeah.
there were many stages, as you said. through your experience that you wanted freedom, you know, there is something that plays out in the subconscious, though. It's like you learn how to heal the codependency first, and then
Yes,
to see,
I
you know,
agree.
yes, I love you, but there are some things that I cannot accept anymore, like abuse or things like that.
Yeah.
And that was in my first twin flame. Then I realized when I met my second twin flame that this can be so much better and different, and we can work in an energetic way rather than a physical. Because when you have a physical connection with someone, then the mind takes over, and you want to experience the physical connection, and you're not very focused on your mission because you're focused on other things and have
Yeah.
expectations because you're brainwashed since a young age. It has to be like this, a family and
Yeah.
things.
Well, not only that, people don't, I don't, maybe a lot of people don't know that our chakra systems have, like, we have imprints, ancestral imprints. One of the big ones is the codependency imprint. And that's, I would agree, that's a big lesson through all the unions is the codependency. And really, everyone comes out of it with self-worth and self-love as the main focus, like bring everything back to really, like, you know, are you being valued? Are you valuing yourself? Then when you realize that you've got all this imprinting from the ancestors, you want to work on healing that as well. The other person has that too. So if you have a physical connection with that person, you're going to have their imprinting too. So you're going to be not only healing your own imprinting, but their imprinting. They might not even be at the point where they want to heal their imprinting. Like, I would say that's the big thing with the connections. Both, I always equated it to like two shooting stars coming in and like colliding and creating like a galaxy or a universe, and then
Yes.
both spinning off and having to go deep into another, maybe possibly dark night of the soul, and another of like cleaning everything out. And quite often the couples can't do that together. And quite often, even couples that end up together for a while, at some point, end up splitting apart and
Even
spending
if
some
you
time apart.
have if you even if you agreed to stay together before, like, I know we work with probabilities here, but because I
Yeah.
remember the timeline, it was like, yes, we're going to come together, but there's two timelines. On this timeline, you're working together and you're doing this together in balance, in harmony. But what happens if the other person wants to break the agreement? You shift to
Well,
the other
because we have
timeline.
free will, we have free will down here. So
Yes,
don't forget, everybody
exactly.
forgets. Everyone forgets when they come in what the agreements were. So everyone has free will. So the other soul can on some level go, I don't, this is too much work. I don't want to do this. And they have every right to do that as well,
What
because
happens in that
it's deep.
situation?
But it's deep, right? Like the I would say the twin flame healing
Do
and
they have to
mirroring.
reincarnate to heal that,
No,
or
the
they can
lessons will come to
bypass?
them. The lessons will come to them another way. They won't be able to get to bypass their healing. They'll still have to do it. But I will say, looking at everything that's happened to a lot of unions, that most unions end up parting for a time anyway, for the other person to go deep into their healing.
Mm.
And because it's lifetimes of trauma, it's not just our imprinting from our ancestors.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
huge.
this lifetime.
I just healed a really big piece. I just started helping clients heal a really big piece in January this year, to do with the fall of Atlantis, Lemuria, and the Emerald Covenant. And that was a plan to split apart the original union. So there's a really deep, deep piece of abandonment and betrayal that's been repeated over and over and over again. So,
So just to make it clear for our beginners here,
yeah,
you know, so we have these parallel lifetimes. We like the fall of Atlantis.
yes,
So we lost our home, right? So we have this
yes,
imprinted in our DNA, and
yeah,
these to be healed in this lifetime, we chose to have specific people come in our lives to mirror our emotions, to mirror our negative behaviors and habits, so that we
yes.
could see them and internalize and heal it
Yeah.
ourselves,
Yes.
right?
And I just went through a process of this for a couple of years. There was a whole bunch of things going on, including interference. But I literally know people have reached out to me saying, I don't have a home. I'm living in my car. And it's so just sort of for everyone watching, I actually just literally asked everyone a few weeks ago to start setting intentions and prayers for all star season light workers, because it's almost as if like the root chakra is so damaged that the trauma sets in and things just happen. So someone ends up like not having a base, and that happens absolutely. And then that's traumatizing. So how do you get out of that? But if they have time to heal it, they start digging deep. It's because in other lifetimes they've lost their home or they've been kicked out of their home, and it's a pattern that's repeating. So I literally just a few weeks ago said, please, everyone who's awake, start saying prayers and intentions for the star season light workers, because they need our support, because they need doors to open, they need miracles to help move them out of this patterning. And I had, for the last couple of years, I kept getting moved out of my home, and I didn't, and that was putting me into this circle, and I didn't
So that you
understand why.
can
Now I
feel
know it
how
was,
the other person feels, right?
yeah, and there was interference because they knew that I was helping a lot of people. So they thought if she doesn't have a home, she can't help people. So there was a whole like level of things going on. But I did so much healing on myself. I thought, oh, loss of Atlantis, loss of so many other things, ancestral imprinting. Like I thought, oh, ancestors. I mean, if we think about how Earth was in other lifetimes, it's been romanticized, but there were many rough times for our ancestors on this planet. So quite often there would have been experiences where people would have been removed from their homes. So there's all these little pieces that come in together. And then of course, yeah, we eventually have to move into learning how to clear our energy, seal our energy. Many of us are not able to heal karma, our ancestral patterns, off planet. So we came in with this great ingenious plan to come in undercover, to wake up at a certain time, to start doing our own healing. And I agree with you. Most of us picked a family, an ancestral line, to clear the bloodlines, to clear these patterns. Like it stops with us, and that will help future generations as well. So even souls that do their own work now and they've got kids, it's going to help the timelines for their children. And then the other thing is, um I was really fascinated by all these lives originally. Like I had them all like they were amazing. Like, why am I here? I could have been in Atlantis. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was this whole rose colored
Because
glasses.
you could see the Akasha.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what they show us firstly. When we start waking up, we get to see all the good things, right? And there's good with all of it. But literally, I knew that I came in to clear it all. Like part of our agreement was, you're going to come in, you're going to wake up, you're going to clear your karma, you're going to get on your mission, but you're also going to clear ancestrally, and you're going to want to clear up and clean up anything you can, because that will
Hmm.
give you more freedom to move into the higher dimensions, and not have to keep going around in circles. So I will say that with the twin flame activation, just to get back that for that, everything comes in at once. Every reality that you all have experienced together, and any patterns that are ancestral, will be like a light bulb being shone on the other person. And if that other person's not ready to look at that shadow aspect, they will pretty well run for the hills. And that would be the what do people call it, ghosting, or where they just vanish. The other person just vanishes. And we can look at it from a higher perspective as they've gone to another timeline.
And what happens in that timeline? Are they still going to improve themselves, or are they just bypassing things?
Stay tuned. It's like part two of the movie. Yeah, I will say, okay, so for my journey, pretty fascinating, because I got to kind of peek in every couple of years. And the last time I peeked in was like in person, was that individual was on their path, but they had decided to go really slow.
Hmm.
And so they were doing their healing, but they wanted to go slow. And it's so interesting because I went for a reading about this whole scenario way at the beginning. It's exactly what that person said. It's going to be slow. So I remember thinking, how interesting, right? How interesting. So I think part of the gift of the journeys, all of our journeys, is as soon as we accept, if we can accept what's going on, what the information that's given to us in this now moment, it frees us up from that timeline. And then we have to surrender it back to the universe, and knowing that
Hmm.
that person is a soul and they're on their own journey, and the lessons are going to keep coming to them too. until, and they can't pass go. It may look like they're passing go, but karma really ricochets, and especially those of us that came in to be doing certain things. And then on the other hand, so I'll give an example, just of clients too. They won't be anywhere connected to the twin flame in this reality, but yet they're always with them in dream time.
Yes.
Because our dream time really is another dimension.
When
It'd
you
be the
have
same
an
thing.
out of body experience, you mean you leave your body and you go meet your soul family, work together, do missions in dream time?
Yes. Yeah. And I was going to say too, like when we do that and we have a memory of it and it's a very positive experience, we absolutely know that we're in a higher dimension, a higher frequency, and that's in a way, another way to look at it is it's the future.
Yes, the future. Another thing I wanted to touch base on, we're all unifying, we're all coming
Mhm.
together, collaborating, we're meeting people, and it's like, oh, I know you. I remember you. I remember
Yeah.
I would meet you now. Like it's happening.
Well, that's something that's been given to me just the last few months. I'm remembering some of the missions that I've been on, and that's just new.
What is your vision when we talk about the future? What is your ideal um reality? How do you see the future?
I feel like some of it's connected to the past. Like I feel like some of it's connected to, so we were talking about New Earth back in 2012, and Rion mentions the crystal cities and all of that. And I always think of like the Emerald City and the Wizard of Oz, like, and that movie was made in 1939. So how did they come up with that, right? That was obviously a channeling. So I just think about all the memories that we have, even of the amazing temples and healing modalities in Lemuria and Atlantis. Like, I feel like all of that information was from the future. And I feel like that's what New Earth will be. New Earth will be just very high vibrational. People will be living, especially, here on Earth, Earth will be like in a higher frequency, sound therapy, healing, everybody living in harmony. All of the struggles and the suffering will be gone. And crystal cities, of course. So for those who don't know about the fall of Atlantis, Atlantis was in a golden period for, it depends who you talk to, but like, let's say, just say 3,500 years. Everyone lived in harmony. They lived in the land. They treated each other with respect. Everybody had their abilities, intuitive abilities. I was shown, and I remember getting really emotional. Like all the archangels were there because we all had our abilities. So we worked with everything, like the fairies, the unicorns, everything was there, right? Then as it
But
started to
there were
deteriorate,
many genetic experiments that went wrong,
that was
right?
towards the end. So towards the end, there was an infiltration, and that slowly started to divide the groups. So there was a whole group that decided that technology was better than the spiritual way, and it was slow, and then it started to separate everyone. So we can look out into the earth reality right now and see that's exactly what's going on now. So we all chose to, yeah, we came from the future. We all chose to come back into this timeline to ensure
It
that
won't
it doesn't
happen
happen
again.
again. Yeah. And timeline jumping has always fascinated me. Like even all the Star Trek shows, I always gravitated towards the timeline ones, because it fascinated me that the space-time continuum, like if you did something this way, somebody would have to
Because
go in
we
and
do
correct the
this.
timeline. Yeah, yeah. And I just talked about that a little bit yesterday, that we literally, that's what's going on right now. There are beings that are trying to hack into the timelines, but I was shown there's a whole group of us that are going in and fixing it. So we're literally on top of it. Like we're fixing the timelines, which is wonderful.
Yes, we also had this interference with those beings trying to delete our accounts and hack our things and
Oh
stuff
yeah. Yeah. And I
to
feel, well, and I
prevent us
feel,
from coming together.
yeah, and I feel like that's going to be kind of an ongoing interference until we get over the hump. So I asked specifically, like the Arcturians started really coming and working with me again a couple weeks ago. So I'm very into like a reporter, like what we're doing today. Who's running the show? What's going on? Like that kind of thing. So what's going on in the realities, the movies playing out, so more of the collective can wake up, and or make a decision about where they're going to go, what they're going to do. Then there's all of us, And what's happened is there's not as many star season light workers awake yet. So we're still working together as a group to awaken more of us, so we can like the more of us that are on our path and doing this work daily, we're so powerful now. Like that's what they were sharing to me. We're holding the frequency so much now that literally the other people are like little flies we can just flick away. And that's what that's the work. We want to get through our shadow work so we know how magical we are. And but you also have to go through the integrity training to make sure that you're going to use your abilities for the
Yes, this
light.
is very important.
Very important. Yes. And if you don't, you get a smack on the hand and back to the end of the line and try it again. We're working on managing the timelines. We can talk another time more about this, but I do know our timeline's been delayed a little bit again, but that's to get more star system light workers on
Do you
board.
mean the solar flash?
Yeah, so I get more information every day. It's like I have a long list of questions for my team, and I have busy days too, so I only get like little snippets, right? But I was feeling this in October when we were all going through the eclipse season. I thought, so we had some big things happen this year. But it's almost as if there's so many people under a spell still here on the planet. And that to me, certain things were to have happened by October and they didn't. And and like I go into acceptance now. Okay, so it hasn't happened. So now I want to know what's happening. So my feeling is, yeah, there's not enough star season light workers that are awake or that are stable or that are on their mission yet. And the more of us, that's why we're doing the team light groups, because we can see like the more of us that communicate and debunk anything that's going on, everyone goes, oh, it's not just me, it's happening to all of us. So then we move more into our power. Everybody moves out of fear and we work as a unit. And then I think what's happening is then it's helping us remember our missions, what we're doing together when we're sleeping as well. The solar flash, to me, it doesn't feel like it would be the optimum time.
Let's explain what the solar flash is, because there are many
Oh, yes.
misconceptions.
Okay.
Before that, they thought that the solar flash is like the COVID or what happened with, the virus.
Oh,
So
really?
it
Oh,
was
I
like
didn't know
the
that. Okay.
event that they were expecting something, and then that
Ah.
came and they thought, oh, that is the thing.
Oh,
And
I
then
didn't
there's
know
still,
that. Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
From what I remember that it would be, it's like the sun gets really bright and we start activating more of our light body, but it's like a switch and it gets really like white light.
So you know how we're going through solar flares? Everybody's been learning more about solar flares and how it's activating our DNA. They're getting stronger and stronger and stronger so we can embody more light.
Light,
So the
yes.
solar flash will be an even more powerful one as that. That's why they're getting stronger and stronger. I've equated it to, because my experience at the pyramids was this massive flash of light. So there will be a massive flash of light, but I feel like there's only going to be so many of us that are going to see it. It's not going to register. Like it will like equate it to a very large thunder and lightning storm. So everything lights up, and probably a lot of people that are asleep will consciously just say, oh, it's a big storm. Like, you know what I mean? But you and I will suddenly notice a big difference. The sun is actually a portal where a lot of ships come in and out of. And it's also a portal, like when we transport at night and we use our Merkabahs to transport, which we could talk a whole other show about that. We go through the stargates in and around the sun.
The moon, is the moon gonna stay there or when the solar flash happens?
I don't know, but it feels to me, it feels like it's like a space station that's not working properly.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I mean it has to go away.
Yeah, but then I wonder if there was one like that before. Like, I wonder if there what actually was a moon. I don't know. That would be a good question for Rion. I'm not
Oh.
sure. Yeah, but I do know that the frequencies that come off the moon impact everyone in a not so positive way. What's the purpose of the moon? Like, why is it creating so much fragmentation? Because I went through it as well. Like just after 2012, it felt like the frequencies of the moon got ramped up and it was incredibly painful
Mhm.
to even have to go through the emotions that it brings up with a lot of people. A lot of people have like emotional attacks basically. So yeah, I'd be curious for his intake as well about when it kind of appeared. Like, I wonder if we went back into ancient astrology, if it was even there.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm thinking that they brought, well, one, they brought it in as a control mechanism for certain to handle certain things here on Earth. But two, I'm almost wondering if something happened that they needed to bring something in to keep certain things stable here. So I don't know. That's
Yeah,
some
there
really
was probably an agenda and an agreement that they had to be
like everything
here
else.
to so that we can play out this game.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
they were starting to want to control rather than play with the rules. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why we need this balancing thing with the solar flash.
Yes. So my understanding is the units, there's councils, many councils, and source universal energy, and they're always checking in to see when a good time for the flash is. And what they gave me in October is it's been delayed to either next year or the following year. So we'll just have to kind of tap into it in early 2023 and see what's happening, because the other things are playing out down here, and what I feel like some of the events that happen out in the third dimension is to literally test where humanity's at. Like, are they ready? Are
I
they
feel
ready to know?
many people are awakening and seeing
I
the true
agree.
colors of the governments and the secret societies and everything that's taking place.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. But they're on the fence. It's not quite
Yeah.
right. They're not quite there. The solar flash will literally split the timelines. So those of us that are ready to be on New Earth on the fifth dimension, that's where we'll go. And the other reality will, so that's why it's taking its time, because
Yeah.
it's a decision about how many souls are going to be able to go.
I mean, I'm sure we can speak for days. It's really interesting. I love talking with you and activating, sharing downloads, codes, our journeys.
I just want to say thank you as well. It's been an honor to be here today, and it's been so awesome. I've really enjoyed sharing with you as well. And hopefully we've helped. Hopefully what we've shared today helps a lot of Starseeds and Lightworkers as well.
Where can people find you?
They can contact me by my website, alohapinkbella.weebly.com, by email. I'm also on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and I have a Telegram group as well. And of course, we have the Team Light groups, Team Light Canada and Team Light Cyprus as well.
Yes, we'll have everything in the description so that you can click and explore yourselves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And then
and
if
we'll
anyone has any
have,
questions and they want more information, they can just email me.
so stay tuned in the groups as well, because it's a new thing. We're just starting, so we don't really know how this is going to go, but we definitely want to see Rion here. And
Yes. Putting a request for us to
maybe,
have a chat with Rion, that would be awesome. You and I probably have a different perspective and can ask him some really interesting questions that maybe others haven't asked him yet.
yeah, so it will be very interesting. I can't wait for that, and collaborating with the whole family, getting
Yeah,
together.
exactly. Yeah,
We're all
exactly.
over the planet and we're finally remembering each other and coming together, it's a gift,
It
really.
is a gift. Yeah, it really, really is a gift. Like I said, when I wanted to start doing a few different things, and the universe literally brought his videos to me in the recommended on YouTube. And when I was listening to him, I was like, oh, I really like this person and I like what he's saying. And wow, people are talking about starseeds. Like I had no idea.
And
So
you
that
feel
was what,
familiar,
yeah, like
that
I was just like, oh, he's
energy.
family, totally family.
So thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Traci, for this beautiful episode. And we'll see each other again in the groups or even on this channel. Stay tuned, guys. We don't really know how it's going to go, where we're going to go live, or how we're going to collaborate in the future, but there's
Undercover.
definitely more coming. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please comment below, like, subscribe, and share to your friends and family, and get more of the soul family together. And yeah, just stay tuned. Thank you for being
Yeah.
here, and we'll see you next time. Bye,
Thank you so
guys.
much. Bye, everyone. Bye.
What does spirit say in the darkest days? What do spirits say?